Okay, this video is going to be about the fraud that is globe refraction, right? There's no such thing, right? It's purely a mathematical thing that that's based around help. It's basically a band-aid for them that they're trying to hand to you as some kind of ad hoc excuse for why the Horizon debunks their 3959 globe. That's all it is. It's purely mathematical. In this video, I'm going to show something. I'm not going to go too far into it because I want to make sure that when I'm going deeper into this, that I have everything correct. I'm going to have to get Adam Meakin on the job as well. But I want to, because this is going to connect into celestial navigation and other things. But I just want to show you something that I almost hit on in the past twice, I think. And due to allowing myself to be sidetracked and other things, I just missed something silly, right, that I shouldn't have missed, but I did. But I didn't miss it this time, right? So, just remember this, because I'm going to come back to this a bit later. This is connected to it, right? But just to start off with, how they work it out is a 35-foot observer height, according to them, will have a 7/6 hour horizon distance, right, of 7.83 statute miles, right? Because remember, the 7/6 and greater than 7/6 is only a way of explaining to you how the horizon can be further than it can possibly geometrically be on a globe of radius 3959 miles. That's the whole purpose of 7 and greater than 7/6 hour. And all of the measurements for this are all done over a flat plane. You can read Andrew Thomas Young's work on it, his papers on it. He states he does everything over a flat plane. It's all the measurements and everything is all flat. Then he adds an R value. It's a joke, right? But basically, it's all based around anything to do with 7 over and greater than 7/6 hour is based around and trying to explain how the horizon can not match a globe of radius 3959 miles and it still be a globe in some crazy idea, right? But in their heads. But it's not refraction, it's purely mathematical. And I'm going to point out something here in this video that is going to make your head scratch. It's like, what the hell? And as I said, I'm not going to go into all of it or through all of it because I want to make sure I have it correct. But I'm just going to show it and leave it with you. And you can deal with it as you will. Right? But I will be coming back to it. Hopefully in the close future. And hopefully within the celestial navigation argument. Okay. So I'll get back to this diagram in a while. So for a 30-foot observer height, right, on a 7/6 hour effective sphere, would you have a radius of 4618.83 miles, right? This is 35 foot because it's 35 down from here, and I have an angle of 0.097, right? Because that is the angle, right, from the eye line. This is, imagine this to be, right, sea level, and this is the eye line, right? And that's 35 foot directly above sea level. And it's 0.097 is the dip angle, right, to a 7/6 hour horizon, right? So I'm just going to come out at 35 foot, right? So, and I'll show you that in a minute in Metabunk because I'll be using Metabunk. So I'm just going to come out of that and show you where that dip ends up in relation to sea level. So as you can see, right, this is eye level, the black line, this is sea level, the blue line, and this is where the dip ends up. So as you can see, this is 35 foot between this point and this point, but the dip ends up down here, right? Very strange at that exact distance, right? Ends up down there, right? And according to them, that's a 7. So according to them, their effective, right, 7/6 hour globe will have, for an observer with a 35-foot observer height, will have a dip down to a made-up fantasy horizon, right? Because they don't have a horizon because it's a curve. Fantasy globe edge. That's not their 3959 globe edge, right? It's a refracted globe edge. Have you heard such nonsense? And it's this far below sea level. Horizontal means sea level, right? This is what they're trying to make you believe. And the whole purpose of this is that on a 3959 globe, the horizon would be, right? The horizon would be way back there, right? So they need to stretch out where the horizon can be. And this is only 7 over 6 hour. 7 is the least there can be. The least amount of what they call terrestrial refraction that they can have, that they claim can be in existence, is 7. It's always, nearly always greater than 7. 8, 10, 12, 50 over 6 hour. It's constantly changing, right? Right, their mathematics is constantly changing because the horizon is constantly moving further and closer to observers because the horizon is just an optical phenomenon, right? I've seen it myself at least twice in the recent years, if not more than twice, where I'm looking at the horizon and the weather changes within an hour and it's in a different position. Something that it was seemed to be in front of, it's now appears to be behind it. You know, it just doesn't it doesn't adhere to, certainly doesn't, it doesn't adhere to geometry, if you understand what I mean. It certainly doesn't adhere to globe geometry because it doesn't hold a consistent position with the observer's height. Because with the 3959 globe, it's 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet will be the distance to the horizon, which is why a 1 foot observation height, like with the Black Swan, or some of the other observations from 1 foot, the horizon can be no more than 1.225 miles away from you. And remember, that distance is a horizontal distance. The calculation of the distance is horizontal, just so you know. They then curve it afterwards. It's a joke. But anyway, I'm going to show how this is. I'm going to show you something, and it's going to make your head scratch a bit. And this is going to be a little bit of a what, right? This is going to show that they are hijacking reality, and that their 7 over and greater than 7 over 6 hour is only mathematical, just like their globe is only mathematical. It's all only mathematical. The radius for their globe came from flat earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's where they back engineered it mathematically from. That's where they get the radius from. I've shown this in videos in the past. I've shown the maths, what it is, how they got it, right? This is how they get their 3959 from, right? Or how they get their 3959, sorry. But let's just start here, right? And I'll show you something. This is going to be a trend. I'm going to show you a trend that's consistent from what I can see, right? So here we have a 35-foot observer height in Metbunk, right? I've no distance in miles, just observer height. That's all I need. And according to them, they're refracted 7 over 6, right? Here you have giving an effective radius of 4618.83 miles. That's their 7 over 6, right? This is their geometric globe with 7 over 6 added. So the horizon is not 7.24 miles, it's 7.83 miles now, right? And it's from a 30-foot observer height, right? That means that the horizon, according to them, is 41,317.33 feet away, right? And the refracted horizon dip is 0.097, like I showed a minute ago, right? Degrees, right? So let's go into the angular size calculator, right? The distance here, 41,317.33, right? I have a size of 70 foot, not 35, and it's 0.097071, exactly matching this. But what's not matching is this. Right? I have 70 foot in. Why do I have 70 foot in? Well, you'll start to see in a minute why. Right? Because 70 is double 35. Right? So something that's double the observer's height at that exact distance, but in a horizontal, right, will give you the exact same degrees here. It will have the same angular size in degrees as their claimed refracted dip, right? Now, just to show that that's not just a coincidence for 35 foot. Here I have 45 foot, right, a refracted horizon distance of 8.87 miles. That's 46,849.46 feet, right? At that distance, right, if I go to angular size calculator, I have the distance in here, 46,849.46, right, feet. But I have an object of 90 foot, because they're using within this is 45 foot observer height. So I double the observer height each time, right? And I use it as an object, and I place it at that exact distance, and I get 0.11007. And what did Metabonk have? 0.110. They don't have the second 0 and 7 in, but it doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right? They just put it in just 3 decimal places or whatever, right? So this is matching 45 foot. This is matching 35 foot. Now let's go on. So let's go to 50 foot, right? They have a refracted horizon distance, there's no such thing as a refracted horizon, of 9.35 miles. That's 49,383.67 feet, right? And they have a refracted dip of 0.116 degrees, right? Here in the angular size calculator, there's that distance, but because it's 50 foot observer height, I'm doubling it and to a 100 foot high object at that exact distance gives them 0.11602 degrees, exactly matching their claimed horizon dip. Isn't that quite strange? Right? That for every observer height, all you have to do is double it and use the distance that they give for their effective 4618.83 radius, right, effective sphere, and it will, forget about the sphere, just use that double the observer height and take it as an object and place it at that distance away, and you'll get that object will have the same exact angular size as they're claiming to be their refracted dip below eye line. Right? This is really, really bizarre, right? Now, just to show that it's not just a coincidence with lower objects, just to show, right? With lower viewer height, sorry, I did 500 foot. 500 foot viewer height, that's not a low viewer height. To be 500 foot above sea level, you're not at a low viewer height. Of course, you can be higher, but who cares, right? You're not close to sea level, right? You're 500 foot. So a refracted horizon, their claimed refracted horizon will be 29.58 miles away from an observer with a 500 foot observer height above their 7/6 effective globe, right? And that will be a distance in feet of 156,165.59 feet. So if we go to the angular size calculator, 156,165.59 feet of a distance. So because we're using 500 foot observer height in Metabonk, we're going to use a 1,000 foot high object at that distance. And its angular size will be 0.36689. And they have, for their refracted dip, 0.367. Now, the only reason that this is not 0.3669 or 6689 is because they're only using 3 decimal places. So because this is 0.36689, it's almost 0.3669. They just rounded it off. Metabonk just rounded it off to 7. So that's the only reason there's a differential there. That's all that happened there, right? Because they're using just 3 decimal places. So what is going on here? That it's so obvious that they're using these distances, right? And they're gaining a dip that matches, right, an object of double the observer height across a horizontal plane as an angular size. Now, I'm not going to go into too much of what this actually means, right? I'm going to wait and go through it more and more and more. And I'm going to have a look at what their claims concerning celestial navigation, because they try and add in 7/6R. They've tried to insert that into the celestial navigation maths over the past 150, 200, maybe more than that years. They keep on trying to add in things into that, right? But it doesn't match, right? But they keep trying to. added in. And of course, we have on the anti-flat Earth side, we have people who are putting out work, let's just call it, papers, and that are trying to add in things, and they're making their papers seem like they're legit, and then they're trying to, you have anti-flat earthers trying to cite other anti-flat earthers and produce papers and stuff from their references from their work as if they're legit. They're not. You can't. They're just making stuff up. And it's unbelievable that people are willing to do that, but they are. It's like me citing my friend, right? And he has no more validity than me. It's a joke in some topic. It's a complete joke, but they do it. It's shocking that people will do that, but I have to laugh at it because it's pretty cheeky. But either way, this is, no matter what observer height you use, right? It doesn't matter what observer height you use. If you double that observer height, if you double it and treat that as an actual object of that height, and then use the distance that Metabunk give you, right? This is the further effective radius. Use that distance, then that object will match their angular size of the object. The angular size of that object at that distance will match their claimed refracted dip every time, right? Now I'm just going to show something here, right? For 35 foot, right, at that distance, angle degrees, 35 foot, right, for something of 35 foot, matching Metabunk's, right, distance for of a refracted horizon, 7.83 miles, that's 41,317.33 feet. So for 35 foot, I'm not using 75 foot here, I'm using 35 foot, right? Here is the distance for 30, this is to be the distance to their 7/6 refracted horizon. No such thing. They don't have an horizon. They don't have anything. They have mathematical globe edges. A mathematical globe edge and an effective globe edge. And basically an infinity of effective globe edges based off of different size of effective spheres. And that sphere will be whatever size it needs to be mathematically to match how far away you see the horizon. And these people even try to give mathematical distances, and you'll see it in celestial navigation. And this shows you how much of a fraud a lot of celestial navigation is. That they'll try and give a mathematical distance to an horizon out at sea. You have no idea how far the horizon is out to sea. No idea. Nobody can ever determine the distance to the horizon at sea. It can't be determined. I know, I've been out to sea, I've been away from land, I've been out to sea about 100 times in my life. Now, I was never out in deep sea, but I was out far enough, many times. And you only need to go away from the shore and just not look back at the shore. Just look out to sea. And you can't determine how far away that horizon is. So yet they try and give mathematical distances to horizons in celestial navigation when they're trying to add in globe, and it's like, you can't do that. And a lot of the distances they're trying to add in are 7/6 distances, right? But here I have 35 foot. Instead of using the 70 foot, I'm using 35 foot. If I calculate that, I have 0.048535 degrees. That's the angular size of something that's 35 foot at a distance that would match the 7/6 horizon, right? So if I double that to 70 foot, that will match their dip degrees, right? But if I just use the 35 foot one, and this is what really gave it away for me, right? Here is 0.04850. That's the eye level degree down to a horizontal plane. Here is 0.04850. That would be the angle back up from a horizontal plane back up to the eye level, or basically two parallel horizontal lines. This green line for a straight horizontal from the eye level, and this blue line as horizontal being sea level, right? If you I'm just going to do just to show, right, the nonsense, right? So I'm sure you know what's coming already. 0.04850, right? And we multiply that by 2. oh sorry, wrong one. 0.04850 multiplied by 2. 0.097. Isn't that bizarre? So all they're actually doing, well, I won't go into what I think what they're doing, right? But this is proof, absolute proof, that they are most definitely hijacking perspective to come up with their 7 over and greater than 7 over 6R. They don't really have maths for greater than 7 over 6R. The maths is there, and I've shown it in the past, for how you can calculate how much over 6R they must add into an observation to claim the distance of the horizon at whatever distance it is. Like for the 1 foot observation BLMSB 69 had to an island 31 miles away, I think it was something like 3,000 or 4,000 over 6R they had to come up with. It was ridiculous. And I showed how ridiculous it was. But here I'm showing that if you make this angle, this purple line here, meet this blue line, and this purple line here meet this green line simultaneously, what will happen? The green line and blue line will come together. Right? I won't go into the implications of that right now, right? But this shows that the fact that this works here, right? And the fact that, and I won't go into what the implications of that is right now, right? And the fact that for any of these, right, all I have to do, oh sorry, that's the wrong one. I have the wrong one up. There we go. For any of these, right, all I have to do is double the observer height, make it an object, and use that exact distance that they're going to give to their refracted horizon, and that doubled height will have an exact angular size matching their claimed dip. Thus, like, the trickery that's afoot there is, and I've known for years it's trickery, I've known it's mathematics, but it was something that I wasn't spotting. Something, and I didn't pay it, because there was always something going on. You're always distracted by a different topic or different thing, and you don't get always into the nitty-gritty of something when you want to. But this just shows that their whole mathematics here is a fraud. That they're just hijacking, right? They're taking a distance, right? That the distance that they need, and they're determining a dip angle. But how come the dip angle is matching the double that observer height as an object in distance? How can that? It's just, that makes no sense. So you have to remember, there is no, right, there is no angular size within their paradigm. There is no perspective taken into account within their globe 3959 maths. But as I've shown in the past, they're hijacking that. They hijack perspective for their globe, their 3959 globe. But they're also hijacking perspective here, right? And I'm not going to go into all the details until I have them all 100% correct on exactly how they're doing it. But they're hijacking perspective here again to come up with this nonsense. There's no way that this can be a coincidence. No way that I can pick any height. Let's just do a different height, right? Let's just do 81 feet, right? Right, 11.9 miles, 62,855.17, right? Right. 62,855.17. I just want to make sure I have that correct. 62,855.17. 62,855.17. Now 81, right? So 81 by 2, right? 160, 81 by 2. 80 and 80 is 160, and 2 is 164. Is that right? I think it's 164. 164, right? 0.149. Yeah, 0.148. 0.14949 and 0.148. Now, I'm not sure, 80 and 80, 160, no, I have that wrong, sorry, 160, what am I saying? Yeah, 0.14767. Yeah, so they just rounded off to 0.148. So this is not a coincidence. This is not, it can't be a coincidence. That can't be. Oh no, it's just by it cannot be a coincidence. They are hijacking perspective again. They did it for their 3959 globe, and now they're trying to. It's crazy to say this. They're trying to do it for their 4618 effective globe. It's crazy. As I said, I'm not going to go into what I think is going on here yet because I am not 100% sure on it. But I know one thing. I know that they are hijacking reality and trying to tell you that it doesn't, that reality doesn't exist, that this other, right, this other gaslighting reality exists. That's what they're trying to do. I'll be back with more on this in time, hopefully in the close future, um, concerning this issue. And I'm sure that now that I'm putting it out there, that others will look into it and come to their own conclusions. Okay, thanks for watching.